Hi guys, and welcome along to this very special Euros England preview here at Wembley Stadium, the Euros, which is coming up in just a few days' time, with myself, Jacob Kirkbride, and Ben Brown representing WDSportz. Ben, the big question is football coming home this summer?
Oh, I mean, the talent in this squad is unbelievable, and you know, every single year, you know, other teams, they banter us and say, all you ever do say is it's coming home. But, you know, the excitement builds, the squad is so talented, and, you know, you've got to believe and you've got to be an optimist, because that's the thing about English people. We're all optimists in this situation.
Absolutely. I mean, talk about classic Euros England moments we've seen over the past few decades, I should say. Gazza's dentist chair celebration, Euro 96. Wayne Rooney making his bow to the world stage, Euro 2004, a very young Wayne Rooney at the time. Daniel Sturridge's last-minute winner against Wales in 2016. What does this tournament have in store for this current England team?
For us in the younger generation, we probably haven't had the best experiences being England fans, but we're looking forward to it a bit more because of the talent we've got on show. You look at the Champions League final, played between two teams, and two key players in that final were both Englishmen in Mount and Foden. And then you look into the other side, Europa League, another English team. And, you know, English football seems to be thriving at the moment. And I think we can possibly translate that onto the international scale with, you know, the resources we've got, especially in attack.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coming so close in 2018, semi-finalists, getting knocked out against Croatia. Would you say now's the time that progression needs to come to the surface with the players that were in that tournament going into this one?
I think not only the players but the managers are also very aware of the progression that does need to happen. I mean, that World Cup run, yes, it could have been difficult, but you can only beat what's in front of you, and we managed to get to the semi-finals, the furthest we've been in a long, long time. And you know, you can argue that this squad now is 10 times the squad that we had in 2018, and the sort of talent that's, you know, was on the back burner and we were kind of looking at in 2018 have really come through and started to play a prominent role in their domestic clubs. So I think now the time has come for Southgate to really make that progressive step as a manager, because let's not forget, he is a pretty young manager.
Of course.
He's not had too much experience, but now I think he's had that time to settle into that, you know, the way of doing things as England manager and really move this squad forward into potential greatness.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's break down who he's selected, Ben, for the squad for this European Championships. A lot of first-time call-ups, the likes of Ollie Watkins, Ben White, who is called up today as a replacement for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Once again, there's a lot of youth in the squad. How important is that? Because Southgate has worked with a lot of these players at youth level. That's how he ended up getting the England job. And now it's translating good performances into the results we all want to see, and that's with a talented young England team finally winning something.
I think the progression of youth has been, you know, prominent throughout the last few years at international level and at domestic level, and lots of chances have been given to lots of youngsters. And again, in qualifying, in friendlies, that sort of thing, because of how good a squad we have, it usually isn't too much of a test. Now, we've seen, as I said, domestically, a lot of these youngsters have proven it on the big stage already. You've got the likes of Jude Bellingham bossing it, 2 legs against Man City, Champions League quarter-final. You've got Mount and Foden carrying their teams to the final. I mean, Phil Foden at the start of the season, we wouldn't have thought he played such a big role, and he come into that City team and he's really proven himself in what really is the best squad in world football. So I'm really excited to see how they perform on this big stage, because we've seen them do it before, and I think, you know, we've got to be confident with the players we've got who've proven it this season, and you know, we've got to see how they do. A lot of first timers. International football is different, so that's going to be something to bear in mind as well. But you know, we've got a bit of, you know, players in there who've done it before.
Of course we have, and now it's just trying to find what's been missing in terms of taking those brilliant performances they've had at club level into international football. I mean, you highlighted there Phil Foden. I would say right now one of the best midfield players on the planet at the moment, based on current form.
100%. I mean, as of today, he's been announced to have been the most valuable player in the world, worth 119 million by CIES. So obviously everyone in the world believes he is a huge talent, one of the biggest talents in world football. So got to keep an eye on him. But obviously we've got to make sure that those old heads that we got in there do step up and do, lead this team, because we do need leaders, and it's crucial in international tournaments to have those leaders.
Yeah, I mean, those two friendlies we saw that basically are testing the players' fitness against Austria and Romania. How would you assess those two performances, and how different would you feel the system's going to be for that opening game against Croatia here?
What I think I've taken away from it is one player in particular stood out to me as someone who's just played themselves into that starting 11. That's Jack Grealish for the England team come the Croatia game. And looking at the teams that were being played, I don't think we see many of them start against Croatia. It's a good indicator of fitness. I think one thing that I'm not too happy about is maybe the depth of the central midfield area in that England squad, and I think James Ward-Prowse maybe could feel a bit hard done by not to make that final squad, because he was fantastic in not only those two games but the whole season.
We were just saying that our cameraman today is a Saints fan, also unhappy about Danny Ings not being included as well, so thoughts and prayers go out to you, mate, unfortunately.
So James Ward-Prowse, I think he's been hard done by this season. If you look at the stats, his goal involvement per 90, 0.21 goals per game, and that is better than any of the other midfielders that we're including in that conversation around centre mid, so the likes of Mason Mount, that sort of thing. So he's been one of the best performing English players. Maybe he's been hard done by because of the club he plays for and the platform that he's playing at. He's not playing in the Champions League, that sort of thing. But I do think Ward-Prowse had a decent shout to be in that, at least the squad. I don't know whether he get much playing time, but at least the England squad.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? There could be a surprise package at this tournament. Who would have thought the World Cup in 2018 would see decent performances from Ruben Loftus-Cheek? You never know. Was it Calvin Phillips of Leeds? He's a new call-up this time around. We could see that one type of player that not a lot of people are expecting to burst onto the international stage and give decent performances, and that could be the case with some of the players that Gareth's called up this time. Yeah,
I'm really liking the look of Jude Bellingham as well in those warm-up games. Look very composed for a 17-year-old as well. Unbelievable that he's doing the things that he's doing on the pitch. And I watched him play Reading against Birmingham in the Championship, and he's come on leaps and bounds. I didn't even think he had a great game that day. Michael Elise had him, here, there, and everywhere. But
he's a Reading fan, by
he's come on a very long way in a very short space of time. And I think going to Dortmund really helped his career a lot and furthered it and made him a lot better technically. And his mind is working, almost 2 or 3 steps ahead of the opposition. You can see that working. So I hope and I think that Bellingham may not start, in the group games, but I think he will play his way into that England team come the knockout stages.
Yeah, I mean, talk of his Dortmund teammate as well, Jadon Sancho. We get to see him at a major tournament of England for the first time, but it's a massive selection dilemma for the manager, isn't it? Because there are going to be a few disappointed lads in the squad about who's going to make the cut for that big game on Sunday and who's unfortunately going to be left out completely. I mean, who knows? We've
got so much attacking talent, and I think the talent that we had going into the 2018 World Cup, you look at the likes of Raheem Sterling, he's been to 3 international tournaments now and not scored a goal for England, so question marks has to be raised there. And that's an opportunity for some of the younger lads to come in and prove a point and create something, score something. We saw Grealish, he was instrumental in both those warm-up games and created that penalty. And there's going to be a lot of pressure within the players who are existing in the squad before the Euros, so I think it could be a good thing. And as long as it's very competitive and people are unsure for their places, everyone's going to try and work as hard as they can to get a place, and hopefully we see as a result the performance levels of that England squad just raise that little bit higher to compete with them big teams.
Absolutely. And on to the big opening game itself for England on Sunday against Croatia. Here behind us at Wembley Stadium, the team that unfortunately knocked us out in 2018. I'd imagine it could be a very different Croatia side from the one we saw then, but it's very important to not take this side lightly, and it's also important for Gareth Southgate's perspective that he picks the right team to get the job done on match one.
I mean, we saw in the Nations League, I mean, we beat them
2-1.
2-1. Was it a last minute winner? By Harry Kane. So they are a decent outfit. I don't think they're anywhere near the team that they were in the World Cup. I mean, Luka Modric is 35 years old now. They're not the same team that, you know, they once were, but in tournaments they are exceptional, no matter what. And, you know, we can't take that lightly. Although, yes, I think we could probably get away with a draw to Croatia. I think you've got to get off on the winning foot and get that confidence in the squad straight away, even if that means topping the group and having to face, you know, someone more difficult, the likes of Portugal, Germany or France in the round of 16. I think it's very important to go into them knockout stages confident, and I think if this team's confident, we can beat anyone in the world.
Yeah, I can tell, Ben, you've already picked your easier and harder pathways being an England fan, like Southgate did at the last World Cup. But I think my attitude is you've got to play the best at the end of the day, and it's all about just taking one game at a time. Let's just get through the group first, and it's not going to be an easy group. You know, the pressure's going to be on us, particularly in the second game against Scotland, where even though Scotland are going to be big underdogs, they're going to be, thriving under.
I was saying a couple of days ago, I believe that this Scotland game is going to be our toughest one of the group, because not only do they have a quality team, I think a lot of people underestimate their team. The likes of John McGinn, Scott McTominay in midfield, Robertson and Tierney, two of, you know, one the Premier League's best fullbacks, and we can't take them lightly either. They're going to be right up for it. I mean, if any team is going to be fired up, it's going to be the most fired up team we have played in a long time, because they're going to want to get one over us. We are effectively, for all these other home nation teams, we're the ones to beat, because we're that big team who makes the tournaments every 2 years. So I think that's going to be a really tough test. And, you know, Czech Republic as well.
We haven't touched on them yet. How would you assess them, Czech Republic?
I like their team a lot, and, you know, it's an unknown sort of entity for a lot of England fans. We know what Thomas Souček can do, and Vladimir Soufal, both West Ham boys, both quality players, and we're going to have to be very aware of them, because they've got quite a decent team on paper. And, you know, in my opinion, I think this is a very, very open group, and anyone could take that top spot. But England have to make sure that, you know, we don't take any of these opponents lightly. And I think we were probably a bit prone of that in previous games, especially in the warm-up games. Kind of didn't take it as seriously as I would have liked to, and I would like to see maybe a few more of the bigger players play a bigger part in those warm-up games. But, you know, some very tough teams in that group.
Yeah, 100%. And this is where we're now going to pick our starting 11 for that opening match against Croatia. In goal, I feel, because of his experience at international level, and he might not have had the best season for Everton, but I think you look at the way how Southgate likes to play, you know, playing the ball out from the back, and he is effective using his feet as well. Jordan Pickford's my starter. I mean, I don't know whether you agree with that.
Yeah, I've got to agree with that. For especially international football, the positions you don't want to really change too much is the goalkeeper and centre half, because they're the spine of the team, and they're the ones that, you know, you look to for stability and that sort of thing. So I'll go Pickford as well, because he's got that experience in international tournaments. He's done it before, won penalty shootouts for us, so I think he's done enough to deserve his starting spot.
Yeah, I mean, the defence, I would say, is probably a very difficult one to pick at the moment. I mean, there was a lot of injury concerns. Obviously, Trent's been ruled out completely. Harry Maguire, I don't think he'll be fit enough for the first game at all, or even the tournament in general. It's a bit of a strange selection from Southgate that he has been included in the final 26. But I would say my left back, Ben Chilwell, I think he's been a solid player for Chelsea this season. I think him on the left hand side has a great combination of attack and defence. And moving on to the centre backs, obviously Johnson.
Well, we've got to pick my left back first.
Of course, your left back.
I'm more inclined to pick Luke Shaw for my left back, because I think the reasoning that I would rather have him is he's played a bit more minutes this season than Chilwell, and he's been just that little bit more consistent, I think. Under Lampard, Chilwell did all right. Tuchel, he's thrived a lot, but he
Yeah.
hasn't played as many minutes. So I'd probably go for Luke Shaw for his consistency of performances this season, rather than Chilwell. But yeah, you can make a case for either of those left backs starting, I think.
Yeah, first name in the centre back position, John Stones.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I said before, you can't be changing around your centre half pairings too much. Obviously, you've got injuries and stuff, so that's where we're going to have to, pick that other centre half a bit more carefully. So John Stone's definitely the first one.
Yeah, and it's a big debate of who you play alongside Stonesy, to be honest. I mean, Kyle Walker has done that before at international level of England, but would you want him more for his pace on the right-hand side? It's a difficult. I'm still undecided on that.
It's a really tough question, and I mean, it's not even the $1 million question, because you've got so many more questions going forwards, and
yeah,
it's a tough one for me. I'd be tempted though to go Ben White next to him.
Ooh, Ben White.
I think he's looked very composed in his
surprise package of the tournament. Watch space.
I think he's been included for a reason, and I think the reason is he's played his way in again. He's played a lot of minutes in those warm-up games. He played the full 90 in the last one against, who was it?
Romania,
and he played half an hour against Austria, and I think he looked very good in both of them. I'm not convinced by the other centre-back options we've got. Tyrone Mings made a plethora of mistakes in warm-up games, which is a big concern for me. I think on the international stage you can't be making mistakes like he did in that Austria game. Could have conceded a penalty very, very easily. So I'd go Ben White because, I trust him a bit more. I think whatever centre-half you're going to go for, you're still going to be nervous about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about opinion. I mean, personally, I would be favourable of sticking Walker alongside Stones because of the decent combination defensive play they have at Manchester City. And right back, I think, obviously because Trent's ruled out, and for the season he's had at Atletico, being a champion player this season, Kieran Trippier. I mean, we're hoping for another Kieran Trippier special at this tournament, aren't we, in terms of set pieces?
I'm really, again, undecided about who I'd want to play at right back. You've got a lot of...
Who would you go for, Ben? I didn't ask you that before on the left-hand side.
Yeah. So who we got? We got Trippier, Walker, or Reece James, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really tough one for me.
It's a very tough one. You went with 4 right backs in the 26, which you went for. That's a questionable decision, wasn't it?
I mean, Southgate could have done me a favour and just dropped a couple of them, so I'd have less of a decision to make. But I'll probably go Kyle Walker for the fact that in that defence, Stones and Walker link up.
Yeah.
Walker's done it before in international tournaments. He's one of the more experienced lads, but I definitely think Trippier could be pushing for that spot, considering how consistent he's been this season for Atletico Madrid. I think a lot of England fans will overlook that because obviously he's not playing in England. We're not seeing him on our TVs every week. So I think Trippier's had a really good season and he will be pushing, but it's a very tight call for me. But I'll just edge it with Kyle Walker there. Yeah,
and further up the pitch now, onto the midfield, I'm going to go with a 3. My system's going to be a 4-3-3, by the way.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. So Mason Mount is going to be 1. Depending how far you want to push him forward, which is questionable because we don't want to get caught on the counter-attack, Phil Foden's got to be on there for me. And someone who can drop slightly deeper, I think a CDM-type player. And I would have personally gone for Jordan Henderson, but I don't think his fitness is up to scratch at the moment, so it looks like it's going to be a job for Declan Rice in the middle of the park.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same midfield as you. I think with that trio, you've got a balance of everything. You've got Declan Rice, who can hold it like an anchor. Obviously, childhood mates with Mason Mount, so obviously they're going to be able to link up pretty well.
Yeah.
I think Mount does that job well of holding that midfield. He kind of can link with Rice whilst going forwards with Foden. And Foden could be that more attacking player in there, and I think he can do a very good job there. Although you could make a case as well for Grealish to be playing in that position as he did in the warm-up games. Look very good, but I think I'll go Foden, Mount and Rice holding in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, Grealish is a debatable one. I mean, talent-wise, on his day, exceptional, isn't he? I mean, he can do it. He's someone who can always drive forward with the ball and just really scare defences. And I think his fitness is up for debate right now. And this is me moving on to the front 3 that I'm going to go with. I think purely for that reason, obviously I would like to see Jack Grealish included at some point in the Croatia game, but I think him coming off the bench will be a really good option. I don't think he's quite fit enough to start, so my front three, Sterling, Kane, Rashford. But I think the way how Kane's playing at the moment, in terms of, you know, how he likes to drop a lot deeper, which he has done for Spurs this season, and allow, which looks like my front three being Rashford and Sterling, push him, was it forward a lot more and having more of the ball, was it cutting inside? Do you feel like he needs to be in the box a lot more, potentially?
I think it's a very fine line with how Harry Kane plays. I think he did it well with Spurs this season, but obviously with England we've seen before where he has been out of position a few times and he's not quite made the impact we're looking for, but he is our talisman. I think he's got to be up top in that team. For my front three though, I'm going a little bit different. I'm believing that Grealish has that fitness to play and to start, so I'm going Grealish out on the left, Kane up front and Jadon Sancho out on the right. I think Grealish, as I said, I think he's played his way into that team based on what I've seen in those warm-up games. Been the best player on the pitch twice, and I've said before and I'll say it again, if England have any chance of doing well in the Euros, it's going to be down to the brilliance that Jack Grealish can produce. I think as well, his ability to win the free kicks and set pieces is going to be invaluable because we've seen it. We saw it before in the World Cup. We became quite reliant on set pieces, and if we do have Trippier in that team with his good deliveries as well, it could be a good recipe for success. And again, that's why I think James Ward-Prowse could have been involved, because the set piece is just exceptional.
There goes our cameraman blubbing again.
Yeah, but yeah, Kane, Sancho and Grealish for me. Sancho, what a great season he's had at Dortmund. Again, he looked quite lively in the warm-up games. I wouldn't say he was a standout player, but yeah, Rashford is also, he is making a case to start. But for me, yeah, Sancho's got to play for me.
Yeah. Now that the big one, Ben, we're going to have a score prediction for Sunday. It's a tough one, isn't it?
It's a very tough one.
I thought about this long, hard and clear before we went on air today. You know what, I think it's going to be a job that's made hard for us in the game. I think we may underestimate Croatia a little bit. I think we have still got some flaws in our defence, but I still think we've got the quality to get the job done. And I see goals. I just see a fantastic game of football overall for our opening match of the Euro. So I'm going to say 3-2 England.
Wow, you've gone for goals there.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you. I don't think we're going to keep a clean sheet in this game. I think purely down to the fact that Maguire's not fit. I think if Maguire was fit and he was training and he played a part in the warm-up matches, you'd be a lot more confident of a clean sheet. But because we've got to have someone else in there alongside John Stones, not so confident. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 England win. I think we're going to, like you said, make it hard for ourselves. Probably go 1-0 down and have to pull it back and do a job like we did in the Nations League. But yeah, that's that. I think we can do. You know, get the 3 points and you're looking good. It doesn't matter how you play on that first game as long as you just get the result. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, let us know in the comment section below what would your starting 11 be for that Croatia game, and also let us know a score prediction as well. And as we said at the start of the show, you know what, my optimism's at an all-time high now. Ben, you've got me going. Football's coming home,
I'm
mate.
confident. I'm looking
You've
forward
got the confidence in me now.
mean,
Football's coming home. We're going to be lifting the trophy in that stadium behind us in a couple of weeks' time.
Once that England shirt comes on and once the Wembley Way is filled with fans, I mean, the belief is going to be coursing through, and I think Wembley's going to be absolutely bouncing come Sunday, and I'm absolutely buzzing for it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. All together to end the video, as we said at the start, it's coming home.
Come on,
3, 2, 1. It's coming home.